Ladies and gentlemen, it's very good to be here in front of you discussing about the 4 per Thousands initiative and the other important issues that we need to do to reach that beautiful picture that was just drawn by the previous speaker in front of us. So I had an honor to speak in the launching event of 4 per Thousand in Marrakesh. I was then Minister for Agriculture and Environment. I was also in Paris Agreement negotiations, and actually in the Paris Agreement we realized that we set the long-term target that we need a balance between emissions and removals. And 4 per Thousands initiative is a very important one because it shows that though we all know that there's an urgent need to reduce CO2 emissions from fossil fuels and other sources, at the same time we need to start the long-term long-term work that is ahead of us to build and enhance and strengthen natural sinks. And 4 per Thousand initiative is a very strong part of this work. And I'm extremely happy that the awareness of the importance of sinks has increased. Actually, the IPCC special report on land underlined this during this autumn. But the good thing is that the measures that are needed to mitigate climate change at the land use sector, to adapt to the climate change, prevent land degradation and desertification, all these measures at the same time improve food security. So reaching those SDGs, many of them, and climate targets, they can go hand in hand, like we have heard here earlier. So I would also thank Mr. Chairman for mentioning that in this COP25 yesterday in the plenary, the Coronivia work was mentioned, and there is a certain paragraph that underlines also the importance of this issue that we are discussing today. So I would like to say that my country, Finland, is of course also very committed locally, nationally and internationally to foster efforts towards sustainable climate-friendly food systems. Actually, we started this work very many years ago. The Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry published 2014 the climate program for Finnish agriculture, Steps Towards Climate-Friendly Food. And the objective is to enhance sustainability and profitability of the Finnish food system. Soils and soil carbon are one of the key areas in this program. And now when Finland is holding the presidency of the European Union, we also arranged an informal meeting of ministers for agriculture, and both Spanish and French ministers we have heard here, they have been very active players in this action. And to the national level, according to the government program of our current Prime Minister Sanna Marin, Finland will advance the international 4 per Thousand initiative. So it's mentioned in our governmental program. But I would like to underline that the action on the ground is what we really need. And therefore, the communication between researchers and farmers is very important. And we are trying to support that work in Finland, because it's actually the farmers that they are in the center of raising soil carbon content. We have work going on at this field. And for example, the Carbon Action Project that we will hear more later today, this Carbon Action Project in Finland is a good example of practical cooperation of researchers and farmers, and our administration supports this very strongly. So, but Mr. Chairman, a few more minutes I have time to use. I would tell you about the wide spectrum of political measures that we have agreed on our government's program concerning a climate program for the land use sector. So we have recognized that it's not only the reducing of the CO2. We need practical policy measures to enhance the carbon sinks and storages in long term, and the long term starts today. It's very important to keep in mind that the long term targets we need to start today if we would like to reach the long term targets. So the parts or the details of this policy program, it safeguards the management, growth capacity and health of forests. You know, Finland is very rich of forests, but at the same time we would like to advance afforestation also in our country. We need to reduce deforestation, and actually this is something that sometimes sounds silly, that in Finland total land area more than 70% is covered by forest, but we do have a problem of deforestation because you can't build anything without touching the forest. If we want to build new railway connection or grid from wind power parks to the consumers, it's always the forest that need to fall down. So at the moment we are trying to build a policy program and also some incentives how we can avoid this. We have plenty of forests, but we can't afford to lose them while we are building our infrastructure and housing and so on. So one part of the climate program, land use climate program, is to means to reduce the emissions of swamps and peatlands. 1/3 of our land area is somehow related to swamps and peatlands. So it's an important part of our work. And of course, the climate-friendly management of swamp forest is in heart of this. But then we come to the agriculture, and reducing the emission and strengthening the carbon sequestration properties at the agricultural land is a very important one. We will develop guidance instruments and incentives the farmers to enhance the sinks and stores. We will continue to focus on researching of carbon sinks, measuring carbon sequestration and developing calculation models. And then we are also going to pilot carbon sequestration and storage markets, so that how farmers or forest owners can earn by enhancing sinks. So there are a lot of expectations for carbon sequestration, but however there are also a lot of uncertainties surrounding the carbon sequestration capacity of the soils, for example regarding the reliable measurement of climate impacts. And that means that we need to work on that area. Precise and feasible measuring models is something that are really needed if we want to build the carbon sinks of agricultural land and forest to the close and constant part of the global climate policy. Therefore, we need to fill the knowledge gaps concerning the biophysical potential and limits of carbon sequestration in different kind of natural conditions and under different cultivation methods. And therefore I ask you, please do your very best when you are researchers and scientists at this field, because there's something, if you can measure something, you can also improve that. And this is the development steps we would like to see in carbon sequestration in agriculture as well. So thank you very much for arranging this event here. Finland supports this 4 per 1,000 initiative. We have been part of this initiative so far, and we will continue our efforts to do so in future as well. All the best for this important event. Thank you.